What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. Her name is Laurieann Murabito. She is a speaker, public speaker. She also has a podcast of her own called Be in Demand. So we're going to talk to her about her why of podcasting, her why of public speaking, and get to know her a little bit. So without any further ado, I introduce you the one and only Laurie. And hello there. How you doing?
Well, hi, Chris. Finally.
I know, right? I know it's been so long we've been trying to do this, but I'm so happy to see your face. You're absolutely glowing today. I just want to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, what would you like to discuss? Either we talked about this a long time ago. I just don't remember.
Sure, absolutely. So, yeah, I'd love to reiterate to you why I wanted to have you on here. I know you're a public speaker. I also know you have a podcast called Be in Demand, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So we'll definitely get to those two. I'm a podcaster, obviously. I'm also a journalist. I love people in the media space because I want to get to know them about their why they do what they do. I have a series of questions here that we're going to go through, but we're also going to have some get to know you questions. You know, it's not all business. It's going to be some fun too,
Okay.
because I want to be able to get to know you and talk to you as well. So yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to have you on here is because I know that you do those things, and I love having likewise people. And your story is just as important as anybody else's story. So yeah, without any further ado, uh,
Okay.
I, I'll get to the first question, which is the same for all my guests here, Laurieann, and that is, what is your why? Why
What's
do you
my
do?
why? Why do
Yeah,
I do what I
what I
do?
do.
And the reason why I do what I do is because more women need to start raising their hand to
Hmm.
say, I will speak. More women need to start using their voice
Mhm.
to make a change, impact others, share their story, be a lighthouse for others so that they can find them in their foggy storm.
Mm. Now, is this something that you always wanted to do? You know, from the days of you perusing the hallways of Londonderry High School?
No. No.
Okay, so
No,
this
not at
so this
all.
kind of came about. How did this come about then? How did this change and transition come about?
This transition came about when I was speaking in leadership, and somebody who she'd seen me speak a number of times and she had a failing business, and she reached out to me and said, Loriann, do you write speeches for people? In which case my answer was no. But I was like, let's just meet for coffee since like we live local to each other.
Sure.
And I learned a lot about her business. She'd had a failing business for about 5 years. She was losing money, and her husband said, "You can't keep doing this when you retire."
Right.
She wanted to be a stylist. She was finishing up her government job, so to speak, and then she wanted to be a stylist for her retirement gig.
Mm.
And so I was like, I'll teach you how to get booked. I'll teach you how to write a speech. I'll teach you how to leverage it into more. And she knocked it out of the park after her
Okay.
very first speech. Yeah. She hit a home run. And in my book, I was just like, huh, like most of us entrepreneurs, I wonder if anybody else wants to know what I know. And
Absolutely.
and that's what brought me from the leadership industry of speaking and
Mhm.
keynoting and executive coaching into the online world and helping people really showcase their business with a really good speech.
I love that. I do. How many engagements would you say that you have a year doing public speaking or clients that you do things like you just talked about for? How many engagements on a basis do you normally have?
Okay, so public speaking engagements, I mean, I've been speaking in the leadership industry from
Mm.
like 2000 until about 2018.
Okay.
There was a 1 year transition from the leadership into the online space. And when I say transition, it was, hey, I think this is a cool idea to go and do this, basically speech coaching. But I still had keynotes that were on my calendar. I
Mm.
would say I probably on average spoke, I would say 25 to 35 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now it's a little bit more, I do more virtual than in person.
Sure.
And I do a lot of speaking in people's private communities also.
Hmm.
Along with, well, like I basically, if you've listened to my podcast, you hear me say speaking needs to be redefined and stages needs to be redefined. And
Yeah.
your podcast is your stage, and here I am speaking on your stage. So,
Hmm.
and I've got my own podcast. So I would say now, including my own podcast episodes, I probably speak a minimum of twice a week, if not 3 times a week.
I love it. I do. I love that, Laurieann. You went to the University of New Hampshire, if I'm not
I,
mistaken.
that's right. You did your homework.
Uh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Got a degree in exercise science. Uh,
Yes.
I want to ask you, were there any other schools that you were considering at that time prior to going to the University of New Hampshire?
For exercise physiology, no, not really,
Hmm.
because UNH actually had one of probably the smallest programs in the country, but also one of the most prestigious programs in the country. They only allowed like 12 people in a year. So
Wow.
I literally went in to UNH as a freshman, undeclared health, and applied to get into the program.
Hmm.
Denied. Sophomore year, same thing. Denied. Junior year, same thing. Denied. The
Denied.
summer of my senior year, they accepted me. I think probably
Wow.
because I was so persistent. I literally
Wow.
sat across the desk from the dean of the health science. And I said, look, the university is a business. You either want my money or I'm going to take my money and go someplace else and get this degree.
I've not heard that.
And he
Okay.
was just like, well, you have an A in nutrition. Why don't you do nutrition? I don't want to do nutrition. I want to do exercise physiology. Do
What
you
made you
want
want to
my
choose
money?
that major? What made you
What?
want to choose that
Oh,
major?
that's such an interesting story. I was in high school
Yeah.
reading an article, a fitness magazine, and I read
Hmm.
an article and there was a quote from an exercise physiologist. Took the
Mm.
magazine, went to my guidance counselor, slapped it down on their desk and said, "That's what I want to do." And he just read it and he says, "I don't know what that is."
Wow.
End of discussion, Chris.
I bet that was. That
He
would have been
did
for me
not
too.
know how to help me, had no advice.
Right.
And so I just was like, I'll figure it out. I'm very resourceful. That's probably one of my superpowers. I'm resourceful.
Absolutely, you are. I could just tell from the conversation, the brief conversation we've been having. It's pretty cool. I like that. Laurieann, I want to get into some favorite questions. So you just
Okay.
give me the 411 based upon these favorite questions that I ask you, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Pizza that I didn't make. Oh, does the answer have to be something that I like to make? It has to be something that I make. Favorite? I do like simplicity. I am a salad and protein girl.
Okay.
So that's not really a
Okay.
whole lot of cooking.
No, no, that's not. But salads are very good, very nice. Put a little chicken up in there, then that's pretty
Yeah.
good. So I
There we
like
go.
that.
That's what I had for lunch. I would
Okay.
say, other than that, I probably cook a little bit more in the winter time when it's colder. So I love to make appetizers for dinner parties, family gatherings, or beef stew.
Ooh, beef stew with some crackers. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. All right, I'm with you on
Yeah,
that. I'm a huge taco person, so I love tacos.
love taco.
Either have some turkey, lean ground beef, and some whole wheat. I normally eat it with the whole wheat, 100% flour. Well, not flour tortillas, but wheat
Yeah,
tortillas, I should say. So
nice.
yeah, those is what I love for sure. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
You too.
Oh, that's a hell of a group. Do
Yep.
you remember the venue that you saw him at?
Syracuse University. Drove all the
Okay.
way out there with a friend from here in Londonderry. We drove all the way out there because we had friends from our high school who were going to school out there, and a bunch of us went to see the concert.
I like it. Okay. So are you still in upstate New York?
No, I'm in southern New Hampshire.
Oh, you're Southern New Hampshire. Okay, got you. I just wanted to, because Syracuse is where my family, my dad's side of the family, they live in upstate New York. So that's why I was asking. Okay,
Nice.
that's amazing. I would say Alicia Keys was mine. I'm a huge R&B person, so Alicia Keys was
Mm,
definitely pretty good. But I do love some U2 and Sabano. I love that for sure.
yeah.
Favorite place, Laurieann, that you ever traveled to?
Barbados.
Oh wow. Now was that a
Barbados for a relaxing trip, like hang around on the beach. It's not a very big island, so there's not a
hmm
whole lot to do, but it's very much an adult island. That's what I
yeah,
tell people. Like, you really don't want to bring your kids there and spend like $25 on a cheeseburger to feed them at lunchtime.
right.
It's an expensive place. I mean, it's an island. You know, they have to import everything. But next to that, like a place that I got to like really be a tourist and really enjoy, I would
hmm
say is Australia.
Wow. Okay. Now,
I
was that a family trip or was
I
that just
did
a?
not want to come. I was dating a guy at the time who was
Mhm.
in the toy business, you know, like
Okay.
games, and
hmm
he had to go out to Australia for a show every year. Although I'm a
Okay.
little surprised that I'm not listing off the Camino, so Spain. So I'm just gonna throw Spain in there also. I walked the part of the Camino last year.
I love that. That's a lot of places. I mean, obviously, all three of those are on my bucket list. I would say Jamaica was my favorite place.
Ooh, I haven't
But
been there.
well, see, now you got to put that on your bucket list for
Well, I
sure.
do, but not for the reason why you went. The people of Jamaica have made my podcast number one and number three in both categories that my podcast is in, which is business and entrepreneurship.
That's pretty awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever get there, please try some jerk chicken, try some rice. The food is amazing down there. The weather, the scenery. I went there on a cruise this past October, and that was one of our four stops. The other stops was Mexico, Cayman Islands, and the Bahamas. So yeah, definitely that.
Very nice.
Yes, indeed. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. My first cruise, not my last one though. That's for sure. For sure. I'm a sports person, Laurieann, so you know I gotta ask you a sports question, which is favorite sport you like to watch on TV, favorite sport you like to attend in person. They could be the same sport.
I would say attending Red Sox versus the Yankees. I have
So
friends,
baseball. Okay.
yeah, have friends who have season tickets and they always invite us for the
Mhm.
Yankees game. But watching, no, I'm the girl who gets the sandwiches for everybody.
So no sport on TV, no sport on TV you watch?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, I love basketball in person. Baseball's in person is pretty fun too. It's hard for me to watch baseball on TV. It's like
Yeah,
watching paint dry. This is
it
hard.
is. It
Uh,
is.
but football. I'm a huge football person though, and I do love some NFL football. Stadiums are too big and too pricey. So going there, they look like little people if you go
They
to the
do.
stadium, unless you on the sideline. So my TV is just fine for football. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Last time I was at a live football game, besides my nephews playing like pee wee football, was I don't remember who the Patriots were playing, but it was my younger sister's 30th birthday. And it was a
Mm.
surprise. Like her husband said, "Oh, I ordered a limo." She's like, "Why?" And then so my sister is approaching this limo with a bunch of people in it, and she can see bodies, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're carpooling with people."
Wow.
She
Okay.
opens the door, and we're like, "Happy birthday."
That's pretty cool. I like that.
That
That's
was
pretty awesome
so
surprise.
that was a fun game to be at.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Well, last of the favorites, Lorianne, and I'm a foodie. So I'm going to ask you, I've never been to New Hampshire, and I love traveling to different places, seeing different cultures, seeing different just sceneries. I love that. What is your favorite place to eat out at?
This place called Press Cafe. It's kind of like a
Mm,
farm to table type place.
okay.
It's run by a gentleman whose parents had a breakfast place. And so he grew up and started his own cafe. And now he's got one, two, three, he's got four locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they serve like breakfast foods, is what you're saying.
They do serve breakfast, but I would say
Okay.
that this place is yeah, it has a breakfast menu, but it also has like it's you walk up to the counter, you order your food, you go sit down, they'll bring it to you.
Okay. I'm with you on that. I
Yeah,
had to check that
it's
out.
not really like restaurant like waitresses or waiters waiting on you, you know,
Hmm.
but it's good food.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to pull up. I'm gonna have to pull up there when I do come to New Hampshire. That's for sure. I'll
Okay.
also say hello to you as well. That's for
Okay,
sure.
you got it.
No doubt. I want to talk to you about your day to day. As a journalist for myself, now that I'm freelance, my day to day always changes, right? And I'm just getting back into the fold because, as I told you before, I was sick and going through some things hospital wise, but now I'm much better now. But even with that time frame, stories are different, things are different, games are different. Every day that you do something journalistic is just different. It's never the same. No 2 days are the same, which is why I love the profession. Talk to me about your day-to-day operations, being a public speaker. When do you record your podcast? Do you have guests on your podcast? When do you drop your podcast? And stuff like that. Talk to me about your day-to-day operations because I know it can get kind of busy for you too.
Well, I really do try to batch record my podcast, but one of the first things that I do when I wake up in the morning is, besides like coffee and morning stretches and go to the gym, but upon coming back, I really like to dive into creating content because that's when my energy is the best. And I think of creating content in the sense of written
Okay.
content. So for
Yeah.
LinkedIn, what am I going to repurpose and where am I going to repurpose it? And as far as recording my podcast, I feel like early afternoon is when my energy is the best for that, but I really do try to batch record several episodes ahead of time.
Mm,
Right now, I'm a little behind because we're at the tail end of conference season, so I have been traveling a lot. So
yeah.
my podcast my solo episodes drop on Monday. I typically will have only one guest a month, and this month it was for Father's Day. I actually brought in five fathers who answered very similar questions, and their recordings all got compiled together for one special episode. I did it for Mother's Day also.
Awesome.
And my Thursday episodes are my audience participating in the podcast. And
Oh,
I started doing this when I hit episode 200. So that was almost 4 years worth of content. And so now I'm approaching 5 years of having my podcast. But when I hit episode 200, I made sort of a big deal about it. I changed the graphic and I kind of changed the format of my show. It was more solo and then my audience participating in the podcast. And that means I do these speaker breakthrough sessions. So it's live
okay.
coaching. And it's somebody who is not my client who raises their hand and says, I want to know some information or get over this little speed bump that I have about speaking. So I have speaker breakthrough sessions. People can record a question. So I also do Q&A. Sometimes people just write in questions also.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
do a speaker circle once a month. And a speaker circle it's a mini training that I host for anybody to join. It happens to be next week. And I send out an invite and it's considered mini so that I do a small training. People get to ask questions right there about either the topic or about anything about speaking. And then we go around the room and people introduce themselves, who they are, who they help, and what they speak on, because
Mm,
speakers need to know speakers.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that concept. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah. And
awesome.
besides that, I mean, I do work with clients one on one. And so
Yeah.
those appointments are scattered throughout the week. I also run a small membership called In Demand. Everything is really called In Demand. If you're gonna, as you notice, my podcast, Be In Demand. The
Man. Yep.
membership is In Demand. And then I also run a group program that I run a few times a year called In Demand Signature Speech. And I teach people
Wow.
how to write their signature client attracting speech.
When do you call it a day, Laurieann? Because that seems like it could be quite busy on certain days.
It can
When do
be
you
quite
rise up and
busy.
yeah, when do you
I
rise
I
up in the
love
morning?
to
When do you go to sleep?
I love to front load the week. I want to get a
Hmm.
lot done on Monday and Tuesday,
Okay.
and then just kind
Okay.
of teeter off as the week goes on. Wednesdays and Fridays, I don't schedule any meetings unless I like you can't get on my calendar on Wednesdays or Fridays unless
Mm,
I specifically like allow somebody to come onto my calendar.
okay.
I like to get up around 5 and
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
AM. And I'm trying
Yeah.
to actually get up a little bit earlier. So I'm just slowly trying to transition into 4:30. But I will go to bed. Like I hit a brick wall like around 9 o'clock. It's like I'm done. Like
Okay.
there's no I'm getting a little bit tired. I just hit that brick wall so fast.
No, I feel that. You just know your body. You know your body is
Yeah.
tired. You ready to lay down, get some shut eye. I totally understand that. As a sports journalist, 9 o'clock. That's just probably when the party is getting started.
That's
With the
right.
game, with the games and everything like that. So yeah, I totally understand that. I want to ask you about mental health and work-life balance. Okay, because mental health, I'm sure there's something that you definitely speak on when you are speaking in some of these engagements. Mental health is more important and more prevalent in our industry and our society more so now than ever. It's
Yeah.
being talked about a lot more. Um, but also work-life balance because even though you're working, you have significant others, you have family, you have other things outside of your work. Talk to me about how you keep your mental health strong and also try to maintain work-life balance.
Well, one of the things that I definitely do, and I do it 5 days a week, is I go to the gym.
Mm,
That is part of my work-life balance, but also my mental health. And
gotcha.
I look at like the type of people that I'm working out with. You know, when you go to the gym early in the morning, like you see the same people all the time. As a matter of
You
fact,
do.
the guy that I work out with, him and I have been working out together 15, 16 years.
Wow.
And I've just always really enjoyed working out and having a workout partner, a male, because they push you. And like he is just very, very few times has he like basically called in sick, like I can't because I got to put my son on the bus or I'm going to be late. Um, but I just have found that when I worked out with other women, that a lot of excuses kind of came up. So
Mm,
I've always like really enjoyed, and so it pushes me, and I have to spot him with his heavy weights. So I really enjoy my time at the gym. I feel like it helps me. Like if I can push those weights, guess what
mhm.
else I can do later on? Like I can do hard stuff. So that's part of
Absolutely.
it. I also think when it comes to mental health, and my mother was mentally ill, she was bipolar. And so I've really kind of grasped onto the concept of like meditation and also breathing, doing some breath work, but you need to
Right.
practice this stuff when you don't need it. So it's not during like life is a stressful situation. Let me start meditating now. Like, no, and this comes from my leadership executive coaching days, because I love neuroscience. Like meditation, like literally changes your prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
And by being able to change this part of your brain when you are in a stressful situation, like blood flow actually gets there and you can make better decisions.
Right.
So I think being able to incorporate these, like whether it's meditation or breathing exercises and doing them on a regular basis, and they don't have to take very long, but doing them now and making it a habit now so that when you do get into a stressful situation, it's like, I know what I need to do. I just need to do some box breathing.
Mm. I
You know,
like that.
when my mom was sick and she passed away from leukemia,
Mm,
and we were in like it was her last day in the hospital. They were going to transport her to the hospice house, and she needed some morphine. And the nurse, like when you need morphine, the nurse never comes fast enough. So I
yeah,
was like, Mom, just do some breathing with me. Just inhale for 2 and then hold and exhale for 4. And I'm literally like pacing in her room. And she didn't want to do it at first. I said, okay. She goes, that's stupid. Where'd you learn that? And I tell her. And she was like, well, okay, I'll try it. And she tried it. And then she was like, why? She was amazed at how her pain level decreased.
right.
I said, Mom, you're tricking your body into thinking it's relaxed. That's all. And she
Mm,
just kept doing that. So I still remember like that was a fun moment for me and my mom towards the end where we were just doing breathing exercises together.
that's awesome. That's an awesome moment to remember. Obviously, my
Yeah.
condolences pass from me to you for your mom.
Thank
Um,
you.
you are very welcome. A great segue though, because now I want to talk about advice. What is
Hmm.
some advice that you would give someone that either wants to try to step out and do their own podcast, or somebody that wants to do something equivalent to what you do? Public speak. Like, this is something that, public speaking is tough. When you have 150 people in a room and they're all looking at you and you're standing up there, a lot of people don't like that spotlight. Talk to me about what kind of advice you would give.
Start small. Who said you have to start at 150?
Hmm.
I think some small audiences is such a hidden gem. And
Okay.
I say this because like um it was just a couple of months ago that I spoke for a New England podcasting group, and there was probably 20 people in the room. But when there's 20 people, it's like I get to make really good eye contact and call people out by name because I've been there before. Like I know who they are. Like we already did introductions. I know what their podcast is about. I know who their audience is. And to be able to like call people out and make really good eye contact with people, they feel like she sees me. So could you imagine, like speaking to an audience of 20 people and really
Yeah,
connecting with them? Let's not worry about
absolutely.
the 150. Like you'll get there, but start with 10.
Got to
Invite
crawl before you
people.
can walk.
Yeah, invite people over for dinner and
Yeah.
do a toast. When, like if you still work for a company, like when there's company meetings, ask a thoughtful question in the room every single time that there's a meeting. There are different ways that you can start incorporating public speaking skills so that it's not so scary.
I
And I
love it.
would also say, what would what would your 8-year-old say about you public speaking right now?
Mm,
What would that 8-year-old version of you? Okay, looking ahead, like, wow, that's what I'm going to be doing one day. And
right.
then you think back on like what would the 80-year-old version say looking back on what you're doing?
Mm,
Wish you'd say,
okay.
yeah, like you should have said yes to that opportunity. You should have pitched yourself a little more because those
Right.
people over there needed to hear you. So there's different ways to inspire yourself and motivate yourself, but truly like this is one life.
Right.
What would it
Absolutely.
take just for you to share your story, share your message, share what you're passionate about?
Absolutely. I love that. I do. Bonus question came up in my mind, Laurieann. Has there ever been a time where you've gotten a little nervous speaking in front of people? And if
Of
it's so,
course.
what time can you talk about that you remember? And how did you overcome that?
I think it's normal to get nervous,
Hmm. Yes.
like before you're speaking. And really, what's happening to your body is physiologically getting ready. You're increasing your breathing rate, you're increasing your heart rate, you're increasing your blood pressure. This is all that fight or flight stuff. And it prepares you for what if something happens? What if the
Right.
electricity goes out? What if the tech doesn't work? And all of a sudden your slides go down? You're like, you don't think, oh shit, I'll just stand here and let everybody stare at me. No, you said, hey, the show's got to go on. Like you
Right.
just kind of go with the flow. Um, I always think of it as if I didn't get nervous, and that means that I don't care.
Mm.
And I
You know,
want to
I
always care. So I
absolutely.
get a little, I mean, I got 25 years of experience. I still get nervous.
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask if you
Yeah.
still get nervous, and you know, there's good nerves and bad nerves. But like you said, I think everything that you do, I attribute it to correlated to sports for me. When I played sports, I would get nervous, but I wouldn't be like scared nervous. I'd be nervous like, man, we practiced all week. How is the game gonna go? You
Yeah,
never know how the game is gonna go, right?
that's right.
And then I transitioned to now writing about sports. Man, how's the game gonna go? How am I gonna write this story? How am I gonna make it relatable so people can visualize it and read my words?
Yeah.
Uh, how's the coach gonna react to me when I ask questions because they lost or they won? So I love that perspective that you gave because, like you said, you definitely have nerves still, but the only way that you can kind of, either I wouldn't say even shake the nerves, but I would say more control over them
Mm.
is to actually do some of these events, some of these speaking events. And like you said,
Yeah.
start small. Start small,
A lot of
house
times,
party. Yeah.
a lot of times people think, like nervous means I'm not prepared.
Right.
And that's not it at all. And so like you just have to go through and do the thing.
Absolutely.
Like do the thing.
Absolutely.
Like teach your nervous system new tricks. Like, okay, nerves, no big deal. I got this. I'm doing it anyways.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, you went to Podcast Fest this past
Yes.
year, if I'm not mistaken. I also went to Podcast Fest, which I cannot believe I missed you. I'm so sorry I did, but it was a
Well, there was a
huge
lot of
event.
people there, you
It was
know.
a lot of people too. It was a lot of people there. At the Renaissance Hotel, if I'm not mistaken. But I had a blast. I passed out a lot of business cards, and I was walking around doing my thing, talking to different people, and just trying to get soak in as much knowledge as I possibly can with my podcast. Because eventually, I definitely want it to be monetary,
Hmm.
and it's been monetary in some instances, but not consistently. And
Okay.
that's where my next step is for this because I love having different people on. I love storytelling, but I definitely want it to be monetary as well. Talk to me about that experience of going to Podcast Fest, what you took from it, and how it was for you.
Well, I had the CEO of Podfest on my podcast last December,
Mm,
and it was part of a strategy. Like I did apply to speak last this past event, and I didn't get picked. And it's,
okay,
like, and as I told my audience on my podcast, I'm not offended in any way because the
sure.
previous year they actually had a lot of speakers and breakout sessions on public speaking and speaking on stages. It wasn't a big priority this year. It doesn't mean it won't be next year.
Hmm.
But I went to build strategic relationships. Not only was I learning, I also want to meet some of the other speakers. I got to meet John Lee Dumas, and I had him on my podcast. That episode is yet to come out, probably will come out this fall. But there's different reasons why you go to conferences, especially as a speaker myself. I'm
Yep.
also going to see, like, I'm looking at the agenda, I'm looking at the speakers, I'm looking at what's missing. How could I pitch next year about
Right.
something a topic that maybe they've overlooked, that they just didn't see,
Mm,
they didn't have anybody applying for? So
mm,
there's different reasons. I mean, I really enjoy the in-person events. I just came back from one just this past weekend, and it's amazing to get in front, like one to be able to build relationships with other speakers, but also the audience members. And I mean, that's how we grow our podcast also is just like one
but
person at a time. Somebody new is listening and they tell two friends and so on and so on.
absolutely. Now, can I almost book it that you're going to be at Podcast Fest 26?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, and so will I. So Laurieann, we might have to sit down, get dinner, something, cause or do something together, cause I would love
Yeah,
that for sure. Because I will be at Podcast Fest 26 with more business cards and even more now knowledge of what I've acquired from the last Podcast Fest as
yeah,
well. And I talked to more speakers too, because like I said, it was a lot of people there, so I didn't even get a chance to talk to as many speakers as I wanted to. But the events was so cool. The place was cool. It was my first time in Orlando as well. Never been to Orlando before. So it won't be my last though, that's for sure.
good, good.
I want to because now we're at the portion of this podcast where I want to play an interactive game with you called This or That. And
Okay,
what that is, Laurieann, is that I throw two things at you or multiple things, and you get to choose this or that. So, Laurieann, are you ready?
okay.
Okay, here we go. If you had to pick one of these restaurants to eat at, which one would you pick? Popeyes or KFC?
They're really both the same, but probably KFC because what I there's more of here in New England.
Got you. Okay, I'm with you on that. When it comes to chicken wings, which flavor would you rather put on the wing? Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Neither.
Oh, oh
Hot
my goodness.
sauce.
Okay, well that's good. That's good that you put some hot sauce on that. I'm good. I'm about to say
Yeah.
you don't put no flavor on no wing. I was like, man, I was about to
No,
get
hot sauce. Cholula.
okay.
Cholula
Okay,
sauce.
I'm with you on that. Okay, so do you like your wings when you're putting hot sauce on it, wet or dry?
Dry. Wet. Sorry. Sauce.
Yes. Okay. And do
Yes.
you like your wings bone in or boneless?
I'll do both.
Which one is 51%? Which one's 49%?
Well, boneless is easier to eat. Let's face it. And it's a little
It
neater.
It is. People call that a chicken nugget, but I don't care. I'm more meat. I'm team more meat
Chicken
all the way.
tenders. They're chicken
I,
tenders.
and listen, and you eat them tenderly too. So and there's no question about it. I love that. That's awesome. I would definitely choose barbecue, but hot sauce. I'm definitely with the hot sauce. I like me a little bit of Tabasco. Put that thing on. I'm good with that. I don't want it too hot, but I want it just hot enough. That's for sure. Um, this next question has to do with sports. Which player
Neither.
do you like? Do you like? He said neither.
I didn't even hear the question.
Well, I was gonna ask you this. I was gonna ask you. Hold on. Let me ask you. Which player would you rather choose? David Ortiz or Tom Brady?
Um, I think Tom Brady would be easier to talk to. He's definitely a polished speaker, and he has
Hmm.
been a polished speaker since the first time that he, filled in for Drew Bledsoe. What I think it was. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Hmm. You
Um,
right.
he's always been a very polished speaker. I remember the very first time hearing him speak at the press conference, and I was like, he's been professionally trained. So I think he would be easier to have a conversation with than David Ortiz.
Okay. I'm with you on that. These next four questions have to do with music concerts that you rather go to. So here we go.
Okay.
Music. Which music concert would you rather go see? Would you rather go see Aerosmith or the Eagles?
Eagles.
Okay. Which music concert would you rather go see? Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers or Metallica?
Tom.
Okay. All right. I'm with you on that. I'm a little shocked by that, but I'm with you on that. Okay. I do like me some Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, though. I do. Which music concert would you rather go see? Would you rather go see Janet Jackson or Mariah Carey?
Can I say neither?
Oh Lord, no! Oh Laurieann, no, you did not say neither on that one.
If
Oh,
I have to pick one, it would be Janet Jackson, although I do think the two of them are too choreographed. That's all.
that is definitely a first on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast for sure, no question.
It's just they're
I
just
love that.
they're too choreographed.
Too choreographed. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. This last one here. I don't know if you're a huge rap music fan. Are you a huge into rap? No. Okay. That's okay. Substitute. What about country?
Hold on a second. I am going to close. I have a bee in my office, and I'm going to close the door because I don't want him getting in the house, in the rest of the house.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
although I will tell you that if he stings me, call 911 because I am allergic to bees.
I got sure, go ahead.
Sarah Brightman or Andre Bocelli?
Oh, Andre Bocelli.
Definitely, huh?
Yeah. Andre Bocelli. Yeah, Ave Maria. All the
Yeah.
way.
Oh my God, I love his voice. His voice touches my soul. Hmm.
Absolutely. No question. I was gonna
All right.
ask you, Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen.
Who?
Oh no. Oh no. I thought you said you was country music.
I don't know everybody's name.
Okay. That's safe to say.
Reba
Okay.
McEntire. She's a great
You know what?
entertainer.
I was gonna ask you Dixie Chicks or Reba McEntire.
I would say Reba. She is such a professional entertainer. I have seen her once. The
Yes,
woman, like she, Brooks and Dunn, I don't want to say they opened for her, but they were the first act.
got you.
I got to keep an eye on that thing.
You are good. You are good. No worries.
That thing is giant.
Oh
Um,
my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna
and
have to watch out for the bees when I get there, is what you're saying. Okay.
yeah, he's just a lot. I don't know how he got in there. Um, Brooks and Dunn, tons of props. And then when
Right.
Reba came, I mean, like intermission was they took everything off the stage, and that woman just needs a microphone. And she
I
walked
love
around
it.
the audience. I happened to be on the floor and saw her just walk by. I mean, she is a very talented entertainer.
She is. She puts on a
Yeah.
great concert. I had the pleasure of
Yeah.
doing event security for one of her shows. So I was on the
Nice.
floor, and I definitely saw her. She's definitely talented, no question about that. Which, if you had to pick and choose which one to play, would you play badminton or bowling? Ooh, do you bowl?
I well, I know how. I haven't in a long time.
What about badminton?
There's a lot of waiting with bowling. It's like, could you let's move the game along, okay? I have like a little bit of ADD when it comes to games. It's like, come on, move it. Just pick it
I
up a
feel that.
notch. Badminton, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just to me like it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of a
Well,
sport.
well, we'll definitely go with bowling then, because at least you didn't say that was a waste of a sport. That's for sure. Okay.
No, that one
Okay.
I can just like doodle on the sheet.
I feel that. Do you like desserts?
Chocolate and peanut butter.
Chocolate and peanut butter. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do, Laurieann. I'm gonna name four categories of desserts. You got to choose one of these that you'll never eat again. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. The
Okay.
first one is going to be cookies. The next one is going to be candy. The next one is going to be ice cream. The last one is going to be cake slash pies. They're grouped together. Which one are you getting rid of?
Candy.
Girl, you solid as a rock. I'm talking about
Yeah.
Aspen
I got
Essential.
to make
I'm
sure that
not.
I have peanut butter cookies.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like to have once, like on to celebrate my mother's birthday, I go have coconut ice cream. But I only eat ice cream during the summer because I don't like it when it's cold.
Right.
And the cake, I mean, I do like chocolate cake.
Who doesn't?
So
Come on, I haven't met
I'm
a
gonna get
soul
rid
who
of the
doesn't.
candy.
I love it. Now, are you a potato chip person?
Not really.
Not really. Okay, okay. So this might not be hard for you at all. Because what I'm gonna
Okay.
do is I'm gonna name four brands of potato chips, and you got to get rid of one of these brands.
Okay.
Okay, same format. First one is Ruffles. The next one is Lay's. The next one is Doritos. The last one is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
Pringles. Pringles is such a, you're not a real potato chip. You wish you were a potato chip.
I love that because most people do say Pringles when I do ask them that. So you're right on line with
After
everybody
that,
else.
it would be Lay's. Like I could get rid of those, but Ruffles, those are the thick chips. I like the thick chips.
Girl, you are in my good graces. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You are me. We are on point right now. Ruffles sour cream and cheddar is the best chip ever made, in my opinion. No
Yes.
question. Okay, I like that. Um, I love asking this next question, because this next question has to do with a top four. Okay, and actually the next two questions do, but this first one, top four, is about you. Give me a top four of places or conferences that you would like to do that you haven't done yet? Because I know you travel quite a bit in this conference season. What is a top four conferences that you would like to do, or you would like, or type of venues or events that you would like to speak at?
Okay, it would be Podfest, Pink Skirt, and Inbound, and really any high-end mastermind. Those would be my
Mm.
four.
Now, talk to me about Pink Skirt and Inbound. I definitely want to know about that. What kind of conferences are those?
I just came from the very first inaugural Pink Skirt event. That's the one that was in Canada that I attended.
Okay.
And it's an audience of women, my ideal client essentially. And most of the people that I was talking to, they want to get into speaking. So it was very inspiring. I admire the two women who put the event on together
Hmm.
and what they were able to create. And I can't even imagine what next year will be like. And Inbound is a big marketing event. And I've actually coached some people who have been speakers for it. So I'd like to probably speak at that.
Now, where is Inbound at? Because I know you said Pink Skirt's in Canada. Where is Inbound at?
Inbound, they do have one in Boston, but they do have them throughout the country at different times of the year.
Ah, got you, got you. I like that. I do. Because I'm a huge conference person as well. I'm always looking for journalistic conferences. I do plan on going to NABJ in August, which is in Cleveland this
Hmm.
particular year. So I definitely love going to different speaking conferences and networking with people for sure. Um, what is some advice that someone has gave you? We talked about advice you gave, but what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Just make the ask. Just make the ask.
Just make the ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Like yeah, you literally, and that really has helped me a lot. Just like, what's the worst that can happen?
Hmm.
Like the worst thing that can ever happen is that you're 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Anything besides that, you're doing great. So make the ask. No one's going to, no, like, no one's going to laugh at you for making the ask.
And I'm glad you said that because, a lot of times, especially on my platform with the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast, I reach out to people just like I reach out to you. I reach out to different people in media. And it's always a worry and a concern in the back of my mind. Uh, Definitely not in the front because I'm very extrovert and I love to talk to people and get to know them. But it's always a worry in the back of your mind when you do ask people that they get a little nervous about you asking them, or they're like, why are you reaching out to me? Who are you? It's just one of those type of things, right? But I feel like if you just continuously do it, that enough people will say yes.
Yeah,
And more people will say yes than no. And I've been blessed enough to have almost 270 episodes of this
good
podcast of
for you.
talking to different people. Thank you so much. Of talking to different people in different type of roles in media, and not just media, but also different type of roles just in life in general, and talking about people's why, right? And just getting to know them. But I love that just make the ask because you're never gonna know what the answer is if you never ask the question.
That's right. Absolutely.
No doubt. I like that. I like that. Laurieann, this has been a pretty good conversation that we've had. That we've had a really good conversation talking about your
Thank you.
why of doing what you do. I definitely want to want to talk to you about your podcast and be in demand. I want you to advocate to me about the origins of that, of starting that. But also, like, I know you talked about it coming out every Monday. You typically have one guest a month. But how long does the podcast normally go? Does it vary from different podcast show? And the origins of how you started that podcast.
I am, if you're familiar with human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So when I make a decision, I just make a decision and then I go for it. It only took me
Mm.
6 weeks from deciding
Okay.
to start a podcast to it actually being live. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time, is what I'm trying to tell people. I just decided, and since so many of my other programs and my membership was all be in demand, it just made sense that, it's just going to be in demand. I mean, that's what you want. You want people, like, I don't want people saying, oh, I need a public speaking coach. I want people to say, you need Laurieann. Like, you want people, that's what being in demand is when you're called out by name and not by
Sure.
what you do. So that's really how it started. And my podcasts they're very bingeable. They're 15 to 18 minutes. My solo episodes, they're very short, sweet, to the point. My like speaker circle, because that's a group training, that's typically about 35 to 45 minutes.
Mhm.
And my guest episodes are about 35 minutes.
Okay. I like that. Where can people find you as far as social media if they definitely want to reach out to you and try to get some advice, some counseling, some coaching? Where can they find you on social media?
They can
And is
find me mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram. But if you go to my website, speakandstandout.com, you can find your favorite social to follow me at.
absolutely. Laurieann, I want to thank you for coming on to my podcast and talking about your story, talking about what you do and your why. And the last question I have for you is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, podcast, what you do, or anything at all before we conclude?
If there's something that's in your heart that you have been thinking of doing, just go and do it because regret lasts a long, long time. Do the thing, do the damn thing.
Laurieann, you ain't never lied on that. And that is, you ain't lied on that, girl. I want you to enjoy the rest of your Monday. You and I will definitely be in touch. And like I said, keep doing what you're doing because it's a blessing. It's amazing to see you do what you do. So thank you so much for coming on the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
No doubt.